Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word this morning. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, and I'm glad you could join me for our time together and our conversation around Scripture and the daily word and how we use it in our lives and how it might speak to us as we strive to live even better lives. And I think that's what Scripture is for us and how we use it best in our lives. So, as always, I'm grateful that you would carve out time to be with me and offer your greetings and just let me know that you're watching and and the way you always join me every day, whatever it is. And also just a quick personal thing. Tonight is the Gideon banquet, and I was asked to sing. I did a couple years ago. I was asked to sing again tonight, and then I didn't hear anything from anybody, but they still want me to sing, and so I'm going to be singing at the beginning of the Gideon banquet tonight. And I'm actually going to sing a song that I've never sang in public before. Actually, I've just learned it. So it's kind of a scary thing to sing a brand new song in a public place with lots of strangers that I've never sang in public that I just learned. But I think that's what I'm going to do tonight. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. So this morning's scripture is from the Psalms. It's Psalm 19, verses 1 through 4. And we hear these words: The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims God's handiwork. Day by day pours forth speech, and night by night declares knowledge. There is no speech, nor there are words, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Yet their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. You know, words are interesting things. Language is an interesting thing. I always marvel at my grandkids. The older they get, the more their language, of course, increases. And the words that they say and the things that they come up with. Most of them appropriate. You know, now Carter's in school, he's a first grader, and he rides the bus. And so you know how that goes, right? New words come into play, new language comes into play. And sometimes he says things that aren't appropriate or not right, but he catches himself really quick. And you can see him when he says something, he'll get this look on his face like, man, I shouldn't be saying that. Language, the language we learn, the language we speak, the language that we're fluent in, this language of God, which is really what this is about, is a different kind of thing. I mean, I remember, early in my life, when you first get an idea of the language of God, and when you marvel at nature and the rain coming down, when we had folks, youth kids, when I was pastoring in Lima, they liked to come to our house on 706 because they learned a new language. Not that their language was bad, because it wasn't, but they learned a new language. They loved playing and seeing the pigs that we were raising. They marveled one time when I said to them, "Do you hear the rain coming?" And they'd never heard the rain, as some of us have, come across the empty field. And it finally arrived, and they marveled at that. The scripture reminds us that we should go back to learning and being responsive to the language of God, to where God really speaks to us. I mean, hear what it says. Listen, the heavens are telling the glory of God. Can you still understand their language? The high tongue of the firmament, the quaint idiom of the days, the whispered parlance of the night. Do you still know it? We once did. We once marveled at it, right? We once were touched by it. We used to be wide-eyed and listened very closely to it. But then sometimes we've forgotten the world, in life and age and circumstances sometimes hardens us to the language of God and to the language of creation and the language that God really wants us to hear. And it seems to me that what we probably all want, and I guess this stems from, I had a conversation yesterday with someone about the political season that we're in and all the things that are being said. And it's hard for me to believe that the number one headline is about cats and dogs being eaten in Springfield. I can't fathom that that's where we're at, that we've lost sight of what's important. I think for us to listen intently to God, to know that God continues to speak to us as the psalmist says to us, to listen closely. Maybe the challenge is to turn off our televisions or our radios. Maybe the challenge is to go outside and just bask in the glory. We don't have to be in the country. We can be in the middle of a town or a city somewhere. To think about what it is that God is saying to us. You see, I think it's not hard to forget, and maybe that's what the pandemic did to us. We had to stay away from each other, and we closed church buildings. And I think somehow we've lost the language of God speaking to us in our everyday lives. It's incumbent on us to listen to God in the rhythms of our lives and to allow God to speak to us in new ways. Maybe we simply need to ask God to help us remember the language we knew at the beginning and to listen intently for it. The psalmist says, day by day pours forth speech, and night to night declares knowledge. Their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the worlds. Our challenge is, in the hustle and bustle and the busyness and the demands and the noises around us, the challenge for us is to listen again to the language of God in our lives. And I know that I need to do that. I get filled with so many things to do, and it's God who says, okay, Jim, I get it. You have all this to do, and you're in pain and you're struggling to figure it out, but you're still going to do it. So how about listening to me, to my words? And that's the language that I need to hear again, as I believe all of us do. So that's our word for today. I hope it's a good word for you, as it is for me. I hope we'll learn to listen intently with all that we have. So know of God's love that surrounds you. Know of my love for you, and I will let you know how my song goes tonight. Have a great day.